Okay, hey everybody, Tony Boccialupo here. It's the Belonging Happens Here event. What the heck does that mean, and what are we going to do for the next hour? I will explain that in just a moment. But first, I just want to get to know who's in the room. I see we've got a bunch of wonderful folks who are involved in co-working spaces all around the country, probably many countries actually. We've got Sam here, we've got Charlotte, Megan. Nivi's here. Hey, Nivi's lurking in the chat from Seattle. So awesome to see you here. Okay, so before we start, does anybody have a furry friend in the room with them? I know that a lot of you are probably at your yes, Sam, could you bring your furry friend up on screen? Is that asking too much?
Oh, absolutely. This is Scorpion George. He is a 5-year-old orange tabby. He's actively asleep. There he is. Oh no, there he is.
Oh, hey, sweetie. Who's this?
Oh, that's my cat, Scorpion.
Scorpion. Oh my goodness. So great to meet Scorpion. Hello, Alora, who's this?
This is Ringo.
Ringo.
He is the mascot of our co-working space, but we are still in our morning breakfast mode. So we'll be going into the space shortly. But this is Ringo.
Oh, Ringo. And where are you? What's your space?
I run the ProWorks and we are in Monterey, California.
ProWorks in Monterey. Great. Laura, thanks so much for joining. It's so great to have you. And Ringo. All right. Anybody else? Okay, good. That was a perfectly good little warm-up start. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up my slides and we are going to have some fun. We're going to do some interactive stuff. But for now, for the near future, it's just going to be me talking so y'all can relax a little bit. So this is the Belonging Happens Here event, and it is part of my work with the Belongfulness Project. And the Belongfulness Project is something I've been working on since last year. And I will explain all of that and more in just a moment. But I want to acknowledge and shout out some of the awesome people who've helped with this event, with the promotion, with talking through this. First of all, the Co-working Idea Project. Ashley Proctor's in the chat, our fearless leader on the Co-working Idea Project, which this is a part of. So the current challenge for the Co-working Idea Project is what we are going to be discussing today. Also want to shout out This Week in Co-working with Hector Colonis, if you're not familiar with it, on LinkedIn. I'm betting most of you are already on it, but if you're not, check out This Week in Co-working. And then we've got the London Co-working Assembly. Bernie is in here as well. And coworking.org, which I helped to run with Janine Vanderlinden, who's also in the chat. Co-working Values podcast, also something that Bernie and company are in charge of. And I'm recording some podcasts for them. So lots of really cool people working on cool stuff in the co-working world. And I'm very grateful to have some amazing co-working friends. So thanks, everybody. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and my background, why I'm doing what we're doing. We're going to talk about what this situation is, which I'm calling a crisis of disconnection. I'm going to talk about what we can do about it. And I'm going to invite some of you to share just brief stories of maybe experiences that you have that relate to this crisis, either people that you know or stories from your past. And then we are going to get really fun and interactive, and we're actually going to compile events that we are hosting in the coming month. And we are going to make a statement about the role that co-working spaces are playing in solving this crisis of disconnection. And that's really the deliverable we're going to come away with, is we're all going to be able to very proudly say that we're part of something bigger. And then we'll talk about next steps and where we go from here. So how's that sound so far? We feeling good, feeling loose? Oh, I see there's a bunch of chats. Hang on, let me make sure everybody's good. All right. Yes. Okay. We've got folks dropping the chats as well with links to their things. Thank you, Bernie, for linking to all the folks I was shouting out. All right, cool. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so about me. So I started a co-working space in 2008 in New York City. It was the first one in Manhattan. It was called New Work City. And I did this because I was working from home and I was losing my mind and I needed to get the heck out of the house because I was stuck at home and I just needed human interaction. I know that I don't need to explain this to everybody in this call. Y'all are well familiar with this sensation. But back in 2007, actually, when I first encountered this, there weren't any co-working spaces in New York City, in Manhattan at least. And it was just getting started. So co-working was becoming a thing in different places around the world. And it was actually an open source, it still is, an open source decentralized movement. The people who started using the word in the modern way that we're used to thinking of it shared it. They made it so that anybody could use the word anywhere. Nobody owns the word co-working. And that's why we're all able to, even today, gather around this word that we all share in common of co-working. So I led the charge to open the space in Manhattan called New York City. It was a total community effort. We hosted so many meetup groups, so many events, so many things that we did ourselves, so many partners that we worked with. And that was a big part of our ethos, not just to be a place where we had people working, but a place where we had people gathering. And I was friendly with so many folks who had meetup groups who just needed a place to go hang out, a place to gather their people. And a co-working space was such a win for them to be able to have a solid, consistent place to gather. And this was all part of kind of my bigger motivation of helping people find their people. Since closing that space, I have been helping other people build co-working spaces all around the world with New Work Cities. So Bernie very helpfully dropped in the chat the link to nwc.co. That's where I have my mastermind group and some other resources that I share for people who are building co-working spaces. Along the way, I've been speaking at co-working conferences, doing a lot to help other people with their co-working spaces, led some unconferences, worked with Ashley, was very grateful to help develop a bunch of great events with her. And you should definitely tune in for some of the events she's going to have coming up as well. And in 2023, launched the Belongfulness Project and released a report on what's been going on. So part of what you will get when you take the pledge, which we'll talk about later, is you'll get a digital copy of that report. Lots of handy stats and info for you to digest. But the motivation for me all along was actually something that I hadn't articulated until someone wrote an article about my launch of my space. And I gave this very passionate speech. And there was a reporter in the audience and she wrote an article about it. And she said that I gave this speech and that I was so giddy because I seemed like I was a person who had finally found his seat at the lunch table. And I didn't realize that was such a perfect way of putting it. That was exactly right. I never really had my seat at the lunch table growing up. And so what I did was I built a new lunch table, right? And that was what always motivated me about a co-working space, was that it could be the lunch table for people who didn't have one or people who wanted to create their own. And I think that we're doing this as a movement, as a global movement, right? We've got 19 people in this chat, and we all represent just a tiny sliver of a much larger movement of people who are bringing people together around the world. My thinking is that we can do more to tell that story, and that we can tap into the collective power of our movement to tell that story in a more powerful way and do more together. So we'll get more into that in just a few moments. First, I want to tell you a little bit, give you some facts about what is going on in the world right now. We have what some people call a loneliness epidemic. I'm calling it a crisis of disconnection because the issue isn't purely social. You can have lots of friends, you can go out, you can be really social and still feel something that you might call lonely. And I think it's because there's this larger issue. So just a few crazy facts. This is particularly an issue among folks who are under the age of 25 and even more so under the age of 18. This is what you'll see is in all of these charts, right around 2012, the numbers had been going down for decades, but around 2012, the numbers really start going down. This is for teens who go out with their friends 2 or more times a week. And this is a startling stat. This is also for under 25. The number of people who have gotten driver's licenses, tried alcohol, worked for pay, had sex, ever dated, all of these numbers are absolutely cratering. Younger people especially, but people in general are just literally doing less stuff. And this is for adults as well. You'll see that the instances of social isolation have gone up. Household, family, social engagement, companionship, social engagement with friends, all these other statistics are going down. And the pandemic certainly didn't help. But even post-pandemic studies show that these numbers are not rebounding. People are still very isolated and stuck at home. So this is all part of a Surgeon General's advisory. The Surgeon General of the United States, Vivek Murthy, released this 83-page report, which I highly recommend you give it a skim. And it talked about all of these issues. And on the right side of this slide here, it talks about some of the pillars of advancing social connection, including strengthening local infrastructure, yay, co-working, enacting pro-connection public policies, mobilizing the health sector. There's a lot of other things here that co-working spaces can also play a role in, which is, again, why I care so much about the intersection of these things. Co-working spaces have always been building better seats at the table and new lunch tables. And frankly, I want the Surgeon General to know we exist. And that's where ultimately I want us to go, is I want people to know co-working spaces are a solution to this. So that leads us to what we can do about it. I could talk to you stats for hours. So just rest assured, loneliness and isolation are a big problem, and they have massive health implications as well. So it is a big problem. Those social disconnections, a crisis. My theory is that it's a solvable crisis. It's not one we have to wait for a scientific breakthrough or a major policy change. We can solve this crisis together. Y'all are already doing it with everything you do every single day in your space. And that's why I believe it's a crisis that we as a co-working movement can solve. Because co-working spaces are freaking awesome. Y'all are already doing stuff every single day to bring people together. And that is important. We need people to be building that social infrastructure that is giving people places to go. If y'all are familiar with the phrase third places, these places to go that aren't your home and aren't your office, they're incredibly important. People need places to get out of the house and find other people. And frankly, if we're thinking of ourselves just as a place to rent workspace, or if we're letting ourselves get sucked into that direction, it's just office rental, and it's not exciting. It's not worth doing. I think everybody here, I can confidently say, is in this because they care about doing more than just renting space. So what are we going to do about it? Let's talk about that. So I created the Belongfulness Project in part because I wanted to understand what's going on. I wanted to spread the word, and I wanted to rally people around this cause. And so the general master plan here is to rally together physical spaces, put together programming that y'all are already doing, or new programming you could be doing, or bring in programming that other people are doing into your space, and then get support from other folks to help to raise awareness, maybe even get some money for what we're doing, and ultimately raise our profile to the point where more people know I can go to a co-working space to solve my feeling of isolation, whether as a member or an attendee of an event. So the good news of this is that in order to start participating in this, you don't actually have to do anything. Y'all are already bringing people together. You're already hosting programming. And so I just want to make it clear, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff you can do, and we're going to basically spend the rest of our time talking about that. But even if you don't do anything different from what you're doing right now, you're already contributing to solving this problem and being a part of this movement. So thank you, and way to go, and keep doing what you're doing. and don't stop. But if we want to keep going and we want to do more to be an active part of this solution, then there are a few things we can do. And I will stress again, everything I talk about from this point onward is optional. So I'm inviting you to consider these things, and I'm very curious how this will land for all of you. So number one is get educated. I mentioned the Surgeon General's report, which again is a great free resource. And by the by, I have a little document I'm going to share. I'm just going to share it with you now in the chat. I have a bunch of resources compiled. So don't worry about going and looking these things up. Everything I'm talking about is referenced in that shared Google Doc. And you'll also get a little spoiler for where we're going in terms of this event. But I also mentioned I put together a report last year called The State of Belonging. When you take the pledge that I'm going to ask you to take later, I will send along a free copy of this in digital form. So what I'm just suggesting is learn more about what's going on. You could search the word loneliness in like Google News or the New York Times and be inundated with articles, helpful articles that speak to who our market is. Even just for a regular old co-working space, isolation of people who are stuck working at home is the reason all of us are here. And so the more we learn about what that is and what's motivating the people to move, who want to move out of their homes into co-working spaces, the more effective you'll be able to be in marketing to those folks. So get educated. Next one is to take this pledge. So I mentioned that there's a pledge. It's the first link in that Google Doc that I've dropped in the chat. And this is where I'm going to follow up with you with all of the materials and with the opportunity to get a handy little sticker. So, gosh, where are my stickers? Oh, here they are. So I've got I printed out these little stickers. One day I'd like to have like transparent decals that you can put on the inside of your window. But for now, I've got a little label maker here. So I'm going to make some stickers. So this is what the page looks like. So head over to there. Yeah, Charlotte loves the stickers. I can't wait to get them to you. And that's going to be one of my action items this week after this meeting. So that gets our conversation continuing, right? We're going to continue to talk about the stuff we can do and share resources together. And I see so many people are in the doc right now. I'm just going to drop the pledge into the chat of Zoom in case that helps. The next thing we can do is raise awareness. So putting the sticker in your window, if you find that to be something you want to do, that's one way to raise awareness. Another way you can raise awareness is by putting printed materials out into your community. One of the other resources I created is a flyer, tells people a little bit about what's going on and how you can solve it. I've got other flyers and other materials printable that I'm going to be sharing with you that you can then share and distribute to your community as you see fit. So this is all stuff that I want to generate and offer to you guys. And then if you want to put it out in your space, great. You could take a copy of the report and put it out in your space as well. I've also created a free playbook called Unmuck Yourself. It's for people who want to foster a healthier connection with themselves. This is a big part of this disconnection crisis, is that a lot of us just feel a lot of disconnection in our own worlds. And so it's a free printable thing. I find it to be super fun and handy. And then, of course, there's just raising awareness in terms of what you write online, in terms of what you send out in your newsletters, things like that. Letting people know that isolation and loneliness are an actual real health crisis with real health implications is a big part of this, because most people don't realize that that's the case. A lot of people think that they're the only ones who are dealing with what they're dealing with, or they have a loved one that they're worried about. And so the more that we understand that this is a real thing, the more that people are going to be able to understand they need to do something about it. And then one of the next things you can do is host events specifically designed to bust up this problem. Now, again, this is part of where I come back to the do what you're already doing. You're probably already hosting events that help people to connect to each other. And part of what I want to do is just tell the story of what we're already doing. And so what you will see in that Google Doc, which will work together more later, and I see that Bernie's already on top of it. Thank you, Bernie, is we can compile a list of the events that we're going to be doing, let's say just over the next month. And then over the course of this next month, we can do these events and then talk about how they went. And also spread the word about the fact that we are home to all of these great events. So to put my money where my mouth is, I am partnering with the local cafe in the city that I live in Norwalk, Connecticut, where the cafe is basically the unofficial headquarters of co-working and community and hanging out in town. So of course I befriended the owner immediately upon moving into town. And I'm going to host an event that I'm calling New to Town, the New to Town Meetup. And it is actually going to be a event for people who have just moved to the city of Norwalk, or maybe moved here somewhat recently and want to meet other people. And so it's a super simple idea, but as you might know, if you've ever moved to a new town, if you don't already have a really robust social network, it is very hard to break in to most places. Even if you're moving to a big city, a lot of times it can be hard to break in. So this is going to be a way to scratch that itch, get people in a room talking to each other. And what I want to do is make this a template so that all of you can copy the idea if you feel inspired. This event's tomorrow, so I'm going to report back, let you all know how it went. And part of what we're going to do is I'm going to share with them a document that just has a list of stuff that I found and invite them to contribute their own stuff. And so this is going to be a nice way for folks to just learn what's going on and go and find it. And at the actual event, I'm going to have people come up and talk about, hey, what are the resources, what are the spaces, the communities, the events, the groups that you are a part of that you want to invite people to come check out with you. So the live component of this and then the digital follow-up of this, I'm hoping is going to be really valuable to the folks who attend. Super simple program, something that I'm sure anybody in this room can do with very little effort, but something that provides a lot of value for the community and gets people in your door. So it's just one example, but it's an example I'm real excited about. And I want to invite you to copy and remix if you feel inspired by it. Like I said, I will let you know how it goes after I host the event tomorrow. So what we'll all do is we'll host events over the course of the next month. We'll report back on how it went, and we will talk to each other and keep this conversation going. I don't have a slide for it, but what I'm aiming for is May 2nd, a month from right now, to have a follow-up and to maybe do another event like this. And at the very least, have an email blast go back out and talk about how the past month went. Did we get a bunch of spaces to compile their events and talk about how it went? Great, let's talk about what we learned from each other. And then eventually, we'll want to, this is kind of like phase 2, is if we get a critical mass of interest, if I'm resonating with you all on this and y'all are kind of on board, then let's start tracking the impact that we're having. How many people come to your events? How many people came? How many events did you host last year and how many people came to them? Probably don't know. But if we can start to keep track of those things, then we can start to brag about those things. And maybe the folks who have a vested interest in the impact we're having can start to support us. So by coordinating what we're doing more and telling that story more, we can start to attract more support. And I'll just shout out one really great example of somebody doing this really well. Jenny Poon at Cahoots is absolutely rocking it. So if you want to check out a great example of it, look up Cahoots and the partnerships that she is doing with her government, with other organizations. There are a bunch of co-working spaces that are doing a great job of partnering with governments and with private businesses, but but we can be doing so much more. So so that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, can we coordinate more? Can we coordinate? Could we get 100 spaces? We've got 20 in the chat right now, so that's a pretty good start. Could we, in the span of a year, be home to maybe 1,000 events, help 10,000 people find connection? It's certainly a good start. I think we could do that within this year. And ultimately, could we befriend the Surgeon General? That would make me real happy. I feel like we could really make a big splash and get this guy to pay attention to us and have him be grateful for the good work that we're doing. I hope you enjoy my terrible Photoshop job there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how we're feeling, and I'm going to pull down the screen share, and I want to hear a little bit about, first of all, how this is landing for you, and anything that y'all are doing that maybe aligns with this already. And if you would like to chat, if you'd like to respond or tell a little story, please use the raise hand feature. And Alora, if you'd be up for it, I see that you mentioned your conversation corner in the chat. So I would love it if you could come off mute and tell us more about it. And I see that your screen is off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
sorry. I'm in transit right now. But yeah, it's something that we noticed that we're not in a large city. We're in Monterey, California, which is about 2 hours south of San Francisco. And we noticed that in our community, like there's been like these like kind of renaissance of local small businesses doing like pop-up markets and stuff. But a lot of those types of events, like they're kind of transactional, and you're going to like a community event, but it's the type of event where you could easily go to a community event and then walk away feeling lonely because you don't have any of those established connections. So like, or you arrive and then you kind of like people glob onto people that they already know for a sense of safety and don't really make any new connections other than maybe buying something from someone. And so we partnered last summer with a coffee shop that does like this local anniversary party every year. And we did a conversation corner. So we like got 4 pop-up tents. And we were like in the corner of this festival, and we brought in furniture from our co-working space and plants and rugs and kind of created this vibey space. And we just had conversation starter cards, and we invited people to come and chat. And originally we thought it would be a little bit more like structured. And then we just like hung out all day and we're like, hey, come and talk to some strangers. And we like had some lavender that people were like putting into bushels and just chatting and connecting. And we had local politicians. We had like 12-year-olds. It was like super multi-generational space. And so then we started hosting it on a monthly basis in our co-working space, which we are still doing. And it's been really, really sweet. And now like there are people who they come and they're like, oh my gosh, I have been craving this type of connection. It's super simple. We do like potluck style dinner, and we just have conversation starter cards on tables. And so it gives people enough structure where even introverts can feel like they're a part of it. And they don't have to come up with questions to ask, and they can kind of cut through the just like the small talk of like, so what do you do for a living, and get to talking about like, who is a teacher who's inspired you, or describe yourself in a way that doesn't include your age, gender, what you do, and like other stuff. So it's been a really sweet space. And now we're kind of in the phase of like, what does it mean? We've been hosting it every month, and how can we now like activate the people in this space? We're going to be out of town for the summer event this summer, and so now we're seeing if there are people who've been coming to our events for the last 8 months or so who they would potentially be interested in hosting it in like the more festival context this summer.
That's amazing. I love that you're already passing the torch.
Well, we're trying, but we're like in kind of in that space, in the co-working space as well, where it's like, how do we make it so that like we've kind of been the central nub bringing people together. We're like, how do we transition to this being like more of a network where we're inspiring other people to take action so that we're not burning ourselves out?
Yes, that is an extremely important part of this process. We could pivot this whole conversation to avoiding burnout as a co-working space owner and probably have a very, very valuable conversation. But I'm with you on that. And part of this also, I didn't put it into the slides, but being able to be home to other people's event programming is such a powerful way of providing service to your community, but also as a marketing tool. It was, for my co-working space, it was our absolute number one way of getting new members was hosting other people's events, because it got people in the space. I made sure everybody who walked in knew what New Work City was, what co-working was, and invited them to come talk to me. And it was a really, really great way of attracting new members. So that's cool. And you mentioned conversation cards. Did you buy a certain set of them, or what were those?
Hi, Laura just hopped off. This is John now, and I can answer
Oh,
that
hey,
one.
John.
I'm her partner. I've been working with her on this. And we didn't buy conversation cards. The night before the event, or the day of the event, we actually went online and we found a bunch of other conversation decks. But we've really liked the Intelligent Change brand. They have a really good collection of conversation starter cards. Yeah, Intelligent Change has been one of our favorites, but we found a bunch of decks and we've been filtering out the questions that we love, and removing cards that we don't.
Super neat. Super neat. Oh, I appreciate you jumping in to answer that question and not leave me hanging.
Of course.
Thank you. Who else has a program that maybe they want to share that they are proud of in their space? I know there are some folks here who are working on some very cool things. You can use the raise hand feature or just come off mute.
I'll go. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you, Tony. So we're not doing anything that's new, and I'm sure other people are doing it as well, or many other spaces. But something that's really been working well at one of our locations is we call it, our space is called the Village Hive. So we have Hive Lunch and Learns, but they are run by our members. So it's a chance for our members to show off their knowledge and talk about their business, and they've been very successful. So, and I think it's a lot of it is just other members wanting to support the person that's coming in and doing their lunch and learn. So we usually have a full boardroom of people and never a shortage of topics. Like, it's so easy to do because we just basically say, who wants to do one? And we've got a list and a waiting list now, it's probably for the rest of the year, of folks that are really excited about doing this.
And so you have members in each, so each time there's like a featured member who is leading a conversation about learning something in particular?
Yes. So last week or last month was one of our lawyers talking about business law. We had a member who's not in AI itself, but he runs a sock company. So he has subscription socks, but he's very great at AI and ChatGPT. So he just shared his knowledge about that. Upcoming is cybersecurity. And yeah, it's just been, we have 3 locations, so we invite members from other locations to come, and that's been happening, which is really exciting. So then it's, really expanding the network, and people at our 3 locations are getting to know each other more and seeing more collaboration. So it's such an easy thing to do, but it's very, and these are people that are co-working. Some of them are virtual address mail plan members who only come in once in a while, but they're coming out to these events. People that may be in offices, they come out. And so it's just a really great way to bring the whole community, either virtual, office, dedicated desk members, the whole crew.
Amazing. Amazing. And okay, super random question, but you said the gentleman had a sock company that sock like the things you put on your feet, not like the security compliance thing, right?
Yeah, the things you put on your feet. And in fact, I wish I was wearing mine today because I actually have branded Village Hive socks now.
Amazing.
If
Absolutely
you go to
love
my
it.
Instagram, you can see them on there.
I also love that a co-working space could reasonably be home to 2 different people working on either sock company. It's both the security compliance and the things you put on your feet. I feel
Yeah.
like that That's a reality.
Absolutely. We're also hosting an event. We just launched a new event space. So we are hosting an event for event planners and business leaders who run events. And the rest, like anybody's allowed to come, but we're really focusing on inviting those people in as well, the connectors in the community.
So Charlotte, you've got some questions in the chat. Laura asks, how often do you host it? And is there a specific schedule? So you did mention, I think, a little bit about that. Does it conflict with your personal events calendar for lunches, or is that your only lunch thing?
That is our only lunch thing. So we do it once a month. I think it's the first, just trying to think, or the second Monday of each month. We do it so everybody knows when it's going to be happening. We also host membership appreciation as well, like usually every other month.
Awesome.
But very well attended. We'll invite a local coffee company or brewery. So they've all been well sponsored by local community business or local businesses as well.
Is it BYO or is the food provided?
Sometimes BYO, but honestly, we've been getting so many great sponsors lately. Just again, it's all supporting local businesses and just letting them know what we're doing. And quite often they'll sponsor. We'll spend a little bit of money on bringing in food, or we have sponsors, or sometimes it's just a BYO lunch or potluck.
Gotcha. Real quick, and then we'll move on. How do you end up connecting with those sponsors? Like, do they come to you? Do they find you, or?
No, we've been reaching out. We just kind of look at who's in the neighborhood for local businesses, and we reach out to them just to let them know, invite them in, let them know we're here. And quite often it ends up with, so a lot of the food sponsors are eager to meet us and also give a discount to anybody that may be hosting meetings. So we have like a preferred caterer list, which we use local businesses for. And so to get for our members to get to know them better, they'll sponsor and hope that they're top of mind when they are looking for food for a meeting that they're hosting.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it. And
we invite those sponsors to come too. We should mention that. So they love coming to the event and meeting people as well. So the local businesses in the area.
That's great. And so are there other folks here who host lunch and learns? Sometimes, yeah. Stacy, what's up?
We don't host lunch and learns. We host pretzel day.
What?
So our founder, Jeff, is a big fan of The Office. So like all of our conference rooms are named after characters from The Office. And continuing on with that, we host pretzel day. So once a month, we have 2 speakers come up, speak for a little bit about whatever they want, and we serve pretzels. So it's a really fun event. We have a steratorium, so it's really fun to have everybody kind of get together from the like different locations.
Wait, is a steratorium that thing where they have like the steps and then like the thing where you can sit on the big steps? And yeah, that's amazing. Yep. I love that. I love that phrase. So is it popular? I mean, how does it compare to the other events that you do?
You know, I'm a little bit newer here, so I'm kind of helping bolster some more events because we were a really small staff and didn't have a lot of extra time. And so I've taken a lot of lessons from how they host that and how we're going to host other events. We get a pretty good turnout. Usually we have about 50 people. So I'm always like, woohoo, full house.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And what else I was going to say, so in terms of the like event attendance and things like that, I'm finding that one of the great secrets of getting people to show up to things is carbs. It's like if you do something but then you attach pretzels, muffins, cookies, it's like it's Garrett. We are simple animals.
I'm building a wine potluck this week, so I'm really hoping that it turns out, because I was like, who doesn't like wine?
Oh my goodness. It's absolutely amazing.
We do a town hall. We've been doing this since we opened. So it's a once a month potluck breakfast with the members. And then our community manager usually he cooks something crazy or buys something, but everybody loves it, and they cook and bring things, and it's a chance just to visit with one another. And we do a little bit of housekeeping, but it's mostly just eating together.
Love that. Yeah. And that act of breaking bread is wired into our like animal tribal selves as a way of bonding together. So it's a good thing to just create those opportunities. Bernie, I see you've got your hand up.
Hello, folks. Can I just address the LinkedIn kerfuffle in the chat? We have this LinkedIn group that Tony is supreme captain of now. But you need to be approved. So stuff we're talking about in here, and we are definitely trying to, we definitely want to activate that group much more so conversations like this happen. And there's no nice way to say it. It would be super useful if everyone on this call joined the LinkedIn group and said something on that post. But I've got my thing here. So I hate the approval thing, but if you join, we'll approve you right away, and then you can comment. And a flurry of activity there will be world changing.
Thank you, Bernie. Yeah, so there's this LinkedIn group that's been hanging around for many, many years, actually created by one of the founders of the movement back in, I don't know, 2006 or 7 or something like that. I don't know how far back it goes, but it's got a lot of people in it, and LinkedIn's becoming kind of a cool place to hang these days. So we're going to try to give that a little bit of love. And the link to that is in the chat. I'll also, or Bernie, if you can do it, maybe drop a link into that Google Doc, because we'll use that for follow-up from this as well. All right.
And
so
special prize to Charlotte for commenting first.
Oh, Charlotte gets pretzel.
I put my notifications on too.
Love it. All right. So I want to make a little bit more time to talk about this kind of coordinated effort and what questions are coming up for you. This is very brand new. So if anything's not immediately obvious about what this is that we're doing, I want to know so that we can help clarify it. And is it Rima?
Hi, it's Rima. I put this in the chat, but I just want to be sure before we go too far down another path. How are your non-members finding out about your regular monthly events to everyone?
Great question. Does anybody want to raise their hand, have a good answer for that? Yeah, Tamara.
We have an entire event process that we start with Eventbrite, and then obviously Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Google business page. Then we do the Near South Side Fort Worth, which is an association we're part of, Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Visit Fort Worth Business Gals. Every single time it's on every one of those channels. Every event that's open, that we call open to the public.
Tamara, it sounds like a lot of work.
I just spent an entire day doing it yesterday because I'm onboarding my new marketing gal. So I had to do the work. I don't want to do it again as the owner. I can tell you that much. But yes, but it's worth it because we get random people show up to our Connections and Cocktails. And I'm like, how'd you find us? They're like, on Eventbrite or on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And randos, like, and I'm very heavily involved in the Fort Worth city, in the ecosystem, in the entrepreneurial world here. And I still get random people that I have no idea where they came from. So I would say as much as you possibly can. And then we work our way back from the event to determine how many social posts we'll do, as well as stories.
Awesome. That's incredible. I feel like I'd love to hear like a whole session from you just on how y'all manage the social media, like effort level that's involved. Y'all, I want to just acknowledge what is going on right now in the Google Doc. You can see that people are adding live the event programming that they are hosting over the coming month. And this is a dream come true for me. I feel like if we can have a nice little compilation of some of the upcoming events that are going on, this is going to make for a really cool LinkedIn post, for a really cool blog post. We'll put it on all the socials. But I'm just very excited to see that y'all are responding with typing up some examples of some of the stuff you're working on. So thank you for doing it. Justin's putting up Waffle Wednesday. So another example of successful carb-based programming. I feel like that could be a thing. CBP, carb-based programming. So while we're doing this, what other questions are coming up for y'all? Is this landing? Is this working? Is there something that you're confused about? Please raise your hand or just come off mute. Shy bunch today. It's okay. Yeah, Luval, what's up?
Where is that Google Doc? Did you post a link in the chat?
I did, but you know what? That was a little while ago, so I'm going to post a fresh one for you. Hang on. Bernie, of course, is right on top of it.
Thank you.
Charlotte's saying
I'll share an event.
I'm sorry, Maggie, what's that?
I said I'll share an event that we've been doing.
Oh, yeah, please.
So we've been hosting for the last 18 months something called Female Founders and Friends. It's a networking breakfast that we do every month to bring together not just female founders, but the folks that support them. So whether that's, the funders, meaning the people who write the checks to help fund our businesses, and or the allies and the accomplices, and even the fuelers that help bring our businesses up.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing that?
A little bit over 18 months.
Wow. Great staying power. So it's been a worthwhile endeavor for you guys to invest in.
Yeah, we just had the Houston Texans and Verizon sponsored the last one. So that was really cool because they gave away co-working memberships and $200 gift cards, which everyone loved.
That's
Maggie,
incredible.
what's the name of your co-working space?
Sesh Co-working.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've sent people down there.
Is this Tamara talking? Sorry, I can't see.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Tamara.
Yes. Cool.
When I heard you say you were from Fort Worth, I was like, oh, we should connect so we can send people back and forth to each other.
I love it. Maggie, one more quick question for you, because I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering. I love the wallpaper. Is it's wallpaper behind you in the meeting room?
Yeah, it's a phone booth.
That's awesome. Where do we get that wallpaper? That looks great.
Amazon.
Good old Amazon. Well, compliments on your phone booth design skills. It's always a win. Very cool. What other comments, questions, suggestions? Nivi, nice to see you. Welcome.
I had no good reason to lurk. I was just in bed and I didn't want to get out of bed. So now I'm vertical. Nice to meet all of you. I'll tell you what I'm doing, and I had a question actually. So I am the founder of Soapbox Project, and we basically help people tackle their climate anxiety. And the more I've gone on this journey, the more it's been like climate and loneliness are deeply interconnected, and we can't solve any of our problems if we're all feeling disconnected. So that's kind of the premise. And so over the past, for March and April, we've been hosting these neighborhood pop-up events, and they're like a really, really fun, cozy dinner series where we can connect with each other and learn and take action. And I think the reason that they are very well attended and people keep coming back is because people are not used to having fun when talking about social impact. Like, it can be a serious thing. So the pop-up ends at the end of April, and I've been trying to figure out what to do next. Like, does it become a permanent physical space? We've been doing it at a cafe after hours, and serendipitously, I got invited to this meeting next Friday for someone that is thinking about opening a climate co-working space. So my question is, like, does anybody have I want to basically go into this meeting because I think the climate co-working space has the potential to be just an office rental basically, and like not, I think it can be boring and maybe like not good community space. And so I really want to help in any way I can. So I was going to ask if anybody has materials on like how you've integrated your programming into your own space or into other people's space, whether that's like a pitch deck kind of thing, or I just basically want to like go into this meeting with some idea of like, hey, I've done these events, they're really good, and your co-working space should be more than just like work. I don't know if that made sense. I rambled a little.
Yeah, if anybody wants to respond, feel free to raise your hand or come off mute. I got some thoughts. I'll say, Nivi, at the very least, that you have the value of the fact that you're spreading the word about that space, you're raising awareness, bringing people in the door, and you can really emphasize the fact that everybody who learns about your event online is also going to learn about their space. So, really heavily emphasizing like, they're going to be sponsors of this event series, and that, you're going to be showing them lots of love. The next level of that, I think, is doing what some of the folks mentioned in this discussion, finding potential collaborators and sponsors. So if even just in terms of cross promotion, if you're able to find other organizations that have a wider reach that want to do a cross promotion with you, then you're increasing the visibility of yourself and of your co-working space partner, and eventually maybe having paid sponsorships as well. So, there's a few things you can try just to get things started at least. Nivi saying in the chat, the space doesn't exist yet, so I kind of want to take charge of it and turn it into a true community space. Yes, this is something that happens. Sometimes people who are not owners come in and make spaces magical, which I'm all for. There's plenty of spaces out there that need that extra bit of magic. All right, cool. So while everybody is continuing to compile stuff into that Google Doc, I will just talk a little bit about next steps. I literally have a slide that just says next steps. I don't need to do that. So what I want to do is I'm going to follow up with folks who sign up through that pledge link. I'm going to follow up with folks who have added their event programming to that doc. And what I will do is I will share with everybody who signed up for this event and into the various socials as well, an update either as an event or as at least just a post where we will compile our reports back on how these events have gone. And I'm real curious, since we've just got a couple more minutes. Has anybody been inspired in the course of this hour to do something new that they weren't doing already based on what they've heard here? Is there anybody who's interested in doing one of the programs that somebody else or I mentioned so far in the past hour? Yes, Rima.
I love that new to town idea. I mentioned I have an art supply store. It's not co-working. I guess I accidentally got logged on to creating community with you fine folks. But I love that. And that's something that I can do in my own store. So thanks for that idea.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about your store? I'm so curious.
Yeah. I own a new and used art supply store, and I've only been open for about 10 months. So it's really exciting to be developing all of these ideas into a place where people do already come hang out with their neighbors. I want to do it a lot more intentionally.
Amazing. That's so great. As the partner that I work with here in Norwalk is someone who it's a cafe, but it's also it's called Eco Evolution, and it's a place where people are selling like secondhand and antique and handmade items. And oh, thanks, Ashley. So I love the idea of just blurring these lines between a store, a cafe, a co-working space, a community space. Like, I think there's just such important value in that. So that's great. Nivi saying in the chat, this reminds her of how many bookstores have event spaces and really only use them for author talks. And there's so much potential in those spaces. So this is absolutely part of the game plan too, is everything we're talking about here is not just about co-working. There should be, and I think we have such an amazing opportunity to bring together third places. There actually isn't, as far as I've found, I haven't found a place for cafes, for other third places to get together and have these conversations. So I think we can involve more and more of those places in these kinds of conversations. The fact that we've already got some folks here who are running non-co-working spaces is really encouraging, and would like to find more.
Tony, I just wanted to add, I'm really excited about partnering with a local restaurant on our main street, who their business has been really slow, and they found out about us, and I have a meeting actually in an hour to discuss what we can do together to bring the community together in our neighborhood, because business is slow and they're thinking, what kind of events, what can we do? How can we partner with a co-working space to bring more people together in our restaurant if people aren't just coming for food? So I'm really excited, really inspired now.
That is absolutely amazing, Charlotte. It's so funny because I'm actually attending an event in an hour also about basically the same thing. So we'll have to report back on what we've learned.
Absolutely.
The Stacy mentioned in the chat, silent book reading clubs, which are taking the world by storm. I think anything that's an introvert friendly ambient social gathering is going to be a win, because people have like fried social batteries. So we want to be social, but not everybody wants to be super social. All right, I see we got some folks who needed to drop off. We are at the turn of the hour. Thank you so much for taking the time to come hang with me. We have had a really nice compilation of events here. I haven't counted them, but we got at least a dozen here. Would love to get more of them. I'll send a follow-up email with a link. Appreciate all of your time. We're just getting started with this conversation, and I am excited to see where we go from here. So thank you all for taking the time to come hang with me. And let's do some awesome stuff in April, and let's regroup in May. Thanks, everybody. Y'all are the best. Take care.